Hello, this is Matt on the Moon Lambo channel. The crypto market's pulling back just a little bit at the moment that I'm recording this, but how about XRP earlier today? It went on a little bit of a jog. Might want to call it a run, jumping up to $2.35, and the market's pulled back, XRP with it, down to $2.26 as of the time that I'm recording this. But I will just tell you this. I follow tons of reputable and very talented chart analysts, and this is very normal. This is not anything to be concerned about. In fact, although it's still possible you could see a bit of a pullback before we finally see things going, there are lots of analysts, tons of analysts, in fact, that really believe that we are absolutely on the verge of the next bullish rally. So I'm going to share with you perspective, commentary, and analysis from 12 different XRP chart analysts in this latest Moon Lambo hot jam. And I'll just let you know ahead of time, you're going to be very happy with what you hear on the whole. The best days unquestionably are yet ahead. But before going further, I do want to be clear, I do not have a financial background of any kind. I am not offering financial advice, and you definitely should not buy or sell anything because of anything I say or write. I'm just an enthusiast who enjoys making YouTube videos about crypto-related topics, but just as a hobby and just for fun. As I record this video, it is 11:10 p.m. Central Time, Monday, July 7th, 2025. XRP, as I stated a moment ago, $2.26. But look at that 24-hour chart. You can see it just started running this morning, and not because of Bitcoin. Look at the 24-hour Bitcoin chart. It wasn't doing much of anything. It's just been trending down over the last 24 hours here. But still, this is the moment to be excited, and obviously XRP is showing signs of life. Take a look at this post from the blockchain backer. He shared it this morning. He said, "New week, same bull." And so I got to tell you, I'm a huge fan of the very frequent bull posts from the blockchain backer. I'm a huge fan. He doesn't normally do that, but he does when he deems it appropriate. And I'd say he's deemed it appropriate quite accurately. This is the time to be excited, as I keep insisting, this moment that we're living in. And nobody knows for sure when the market's really going to start ripping. And this is, we can finally look and say, yeah, that was it. That was the clear, impulsive move. Now it's all going. It could be today, tomorrow, next week, next month. The truth is nobody knows. Anybody says they know for sure. They are either just ridiculously ego-driven and cocky, and they don't know that they shouldn't trust what they actually believe, or they're just lying to you. Either way, not good. But I do know that we are living in this moment where it really could go at any moment. That's the exciting part of this. And so then the blockchain backer said, "Just a waiting game for the breakout. Outside of Bitcoin acting like this multiple times prior, here is an example of even gold to see how these ranges behave. ABCs, consolidations, breakouts." And so you can see he's got gold on the left. That's what this chart is. And then on the right, you got Bitcoin. And where he circled right here, these are modern times. This is where we are right now. So what is he highlighting happen in gold? He's talking about this ABC correction. You can see he's labeled it right here on the chart. Then there was a consolidation period. That's what he put in this green tinted oval right here. And then gold rocketed, absolutely rocketed in price. This structure plays out in charts all the time, as he has articulated quite a bit. And so he's just saying that's what's playing out in Bitcoin right now. You can see the ABC correction labeled on this chart, followed by what we're going through right now, which is consolidation. And what follows is the breakout. This is normal, which is why I keep telling you, whether it's today, tomorrow, next week, next month, whatever it is, this is why it's exciting. You could wake up any day and it really is just going. Anytime you start to see XRP or Bitcoin go, that really could be the instant that it's actually for real going. We just don't know. And sometimes you look back and like, okay, well, that was a fake out then, like we got today with XRP. Fine, that stuff's going to happen too. But that's also normal. Either way, signs of life, my friends, very obviously. And then take a look at this post from chart analyst Jelly. He says, global liquidity keeps rising. So you can see that this black line here is M2 Global Liquidity Index, and the red line is the price of Bitcoin, and you can see how it very closely correlates. And he says, Bitcoin's struggling to keep up just like it did the second half of 2024. Patience for now. I expect that gap to shrink again in the coming months higher. Yeah, and so you can see as he's pointing back here in 2024, there was an increase in global liquidity, and Bitcoin, it lagged behind because it does, It always does. And then it catches up. And you can see various chart guys that highlight this stuff argue whether, the lag is typically more like a 10 week or a 12 week. It's not completely static, but it tends to be in that range depending on who you ask. So, and it makes sense, of course, because as liquidity increases and people, businesses, institutions have more funds, they then need to choose where to allocate them, and that can take time. That's why you see roughly a 12-week lag time. Liquidity increases, people have to decide what to do with this increase in liquidity, and some of that gets put into risk on assets like stocks and also crypto. So it just makes sense. And this is exciting because of the confluence, everything perfectly coming together as you would hope and expect it to if Bitcoin's actually going to rocket and the asset class moves in tandem. So once this bad boy gets going, you know what's next for XRP. We're going to have an alt season like crazy, like we haven't seen in several years. I mean, that's the truth of it. History rhymes with itself. It is coming. Here's a post from chart analyst Credible Crypto, and for the sake of time, I won't read the whole thing, but this is from this evening. This is at 5:41 p.m. Central. And I will note that previously, and I shared this on the channel at least once, he was warning that Bitcoin could jump up to about $110,000, $112,000 in price, and that would be a fake out, and then it goes back down to about $102,000 because in the way he's highlighted this in great detail, in chart formations, that's frequently what happens. And so he's just been warning, okay, could run up, could be a fake out, down to about $102,000, drags the whole market down with it. Then back up ultimately, and then it does have a real breakout and goes on its final last parabolic rally, and then XRP follows. And so Credible Crypto does believe XRP is going to hit double-digit price action this cycle. Even if we go lower in the short term, don't mistake him for a bear. No. He believes XRP is going to peak between $20 to $30 this cycle. He thinks Bitcoin's going to hit probably at least $150,000. So if we do go lower, not the end of the world. Just don't be panicking if that happens. He still thinks that's the most probable outcome, but he shared this post where he wrote, why is it now illegal to short Bitcoin? And he says, because there is a non-zero chance that the next impulse up has already begun. So he's playing with the idea. He says it's at least possible that the next impulse, the one where we finally do see a Bitcoin enter price discovery for the last time this cycle, and where finally will ultimately peak, he says there's a chance that it actually has already started. And so for that reason, he is not at all going to play with that type of fire. He's not going to even consider shorting Bitcoin. He thinks that's a terrible idea. That's why he jokingly says that it's illegal to do so now. So he's just saying, like, this could be the moment. But he does still think it's more probable we go down to about $102,000. So take it for what it's worth here. He's not the only one that's thinking that makes sense, though. Here's another one from chart analyst Credible Crypto. This is an XRP BTC chart. And he's got this meme here, the "you shall not pass" meme that everybody knows about, of course. And what he's showing here is that on the XRP BTC chart, XRP has come bucking up against this particular trend line now for the fifth time, including today. Today's the fifth time, and it rejected from it. Now, the thing about these trend lines is the more they get tapped, the weaker they get. So the fact that XRP keeps ramming up against this, it's just, maybe it's the next time, nobody knows for sure. One of these times it's going to tap it, and it's just going to just blaze through that bad boy. And Credible Crypto has talked about the idea of XRP getting closer to up here. You have to look at the screen to see what I'm talking about, but this upper end in this pink zone here on the XRP BTC chart, and what that would mean for XRP priced against the dollar will be dramatic. If that happens, you're already looking at double-digit price action for XRP. And he does believe directionally that's where we're going. So he shared this. He wrote, 5 for 5, Gandalf is a beast. With the meme here again, "you shall not pass," which of course is from the movie Dork Quest, also known as Lord of the Rings. Here's a post from chart analyst Mikey Bull Crypto XRP BTC chart. And he agrees with Credible Crypto. He even tagged Credible Crypto in a post in this thread. And was wondering what he thought about it, and they agree, obviously. But he says, break this trend line resistance, XRP will rally strong. So just a matter of time, folks. It's obviously going to happen at some point. Here's a post from chart analyst Zoom on XRP BTC. He shared this. He says, XRP BTC trying to break out. And so he drew the same trend line as Credible Crypto. He's noticed the exact same thing. Again, every time it taps that line, it gets weaker, and eventually it is going to break. And like I've been saying, I said this before XRP broke to the upside in November. I said XRP is going to devastate and utterly destroy Bitcoin this market cycle in terms of performance. And it already has. We've already seen that, so I'm already right. It's going to do it disgustingly more than it already has this cycle. That's what I'm telling you is next. It is absolutely coming. XRP has been so artificially suppressed because of years of nonsense from the government. Now it's playing catch up. Turns out when XRP is in an environment where it's a level playing field, it really excels. That's what it turns out to be the case. Another XRP BTC chart here, this one from ChartingGuy, and he says, almost ready. I think XRP BTC will break out by early August. So even if we had to wait that long, that's fine. That's still summer. The last day of summer isn't until September 22nd. So that would still be a summer breakout if that comes to pass. And there is historic precedent for the crypto market going wild. In fact, every single cycle it has in the fourth year of a market cycle. So if it doesn't this time, that would be a first, actually. And sometimes firsts happen, so if that happens, I'll just be like, well, okay, that's interesting. Maybe the analyst, my only thought right now anyway, would be towards the analysts who have said that the cycle's lengthening. That's where my brain would go first if that happens, and we'll see if it does. But really, tons of analysts are acknowledging that there's a really good chance it's gonna be moving actually this summer, and we won't actually have to wait until the fall. So I'm still fingers crossed for that, just because, I mean, I'd prefer that. Who wants to wait longer? Pretty much none of us. But still. Here's a post from the great Matsby, XRP BTC here again. He says the trading pair looks almost identical to XRP priced in USD. Both are extremely close to the weekly Ichimoku cloud, getting ready to break out, proving XRP will continue to outperform Bitcoin. Yeah, that sure as hell is true. There's not a world in which Bitcoin outperforms XRP for this cycle. It's just not happening. It is not happening. And it was just so obvious, too. It's just so odd. There's so much less money in XRP, and it was artificially suppressed. So, yeah, when it got going, there wasn't a snowball's chance in hell for Bitcoin in terms of beating XRP performance-wise. Just not a chance. Not a freaking chance. Here's a post from chart analyst Punky, XRP USD chart on the screen here. And he says, can XRP pull another 600% gain like what we did in November through January in the next wave up? Usually, the wave 3 will be the strongest and most explosive wave, which means we could potentially expect more than 6x from current price. Personally, I think $13 to $15 is possible. Okay, that message is in line with what I've been talking a lot about recently. He is correct. Just look at historic precedent for this. And so here's what he's talking about. You can see that this first pump here, he's calling that wave 1. And then this accumulation that we've been in for pretty much all of 2025 with XRP, this whole year just about, he's calling that wave 2. And he's saying wave 3 will be the second pump. So as I've cited, there are 2 major pumps in each market cycle for XRP. Historically, that's just how it's been. So if history rhymes, we'll see 2 major pumps this cycle as well, separated historically by about half a year. So it pumps half a year sideways, then it pumps again. And what I have shared with you is that last cycle and the cycle before that, after that consolidation of about half a year, when it had each cycle, it had its second pump, XRP ripped to a much greater degree than it did in the first pump. If you're talking about XRP priced in the dollar, priced against the dollar, yes, the second pump is way more important. Way more important. So if you're talking percentage gains from the beginning to the end of that pump, no. But if you're talking increase in the US dollar, which frankly is what I care about, okay, because I've been holding XRP this whole time. It's not like I started buying at $2. Yeah, it's if history is to rhyme with itself here, it's going to be bucks. Think about it. Think about what XRP already did from 49 cents to $3.40. Whatever happens the second pump, if history rhymes with itself, it's going to be a way greater increase than that in dollars. Way bigger. And already there, that was almost a $3 increase. Think about it. From 49 cents to $3.40, that's almost a $3 increase. Whatever this is, by the time it hits its peak, it should be way more substantial than that. way more than $3. If history is to rhyme with itself. So now, mind you, that's not a price. I don't make price predictions. I never have. I never will. I don't know what's going to happen. I'm just talking about if history rhymes with itself. I'm sharing historic precedent. Since I'm not a chart guy, I'd be disingenuous if I'm making price predictions. So I'm just not going to play that game. It's not my shtick. But I still acknowledge and understand if this goes. Whew. And so this is the concept that he's sharing here. He said that that would be the more explosive one. How did he word it here? Usually the wave 3 will be the strongest and most explosive. Yeah. So what he's calling wave 3 here, that would be pump number 2. So when he says $13 to $15 XRP, that's not crazy. Let me tell you that. Here's a post from Crypto Wizard. XRP USD chart here. Let it fly. Houston, we have liftoff. And this is from this afternoon, by the way. XRP is rocketing upside from the breakout of the falling wedge is perfectly called and traded. It's on course to $2.80. Once $2.80 breaks a new all-time high comes. So we have had a bit of a pullback there along with the rest of the crypto asset class since then, but I don't think that he would tell you that changes what he's expecting in terms of getting this thing going to a much greater degree. He still firmly believes this is coming. He's been very consistent on that. Here's a post from chart analyst Captain Fabic, XRP USD chart. It says XRP is on the verge of next bullish rally. Next stop, $4.60. And that was in the morning today, but that was before XRP even started pumping, actually. He still firmly believes the next big jump is going to be to $4.60. That is not crazy. Not in the least, folks. Here's a post from chart analyst CryptoV. Says, XRP, you are not bullish enough. And he plopped down a fractal from the previous cycle, 2017. And you can see, and tons of analysts have done this. And it makes sense to do that since history tends to rhyme with itself. But it shows very clearly this consolidation we've been going through is normal, but then it really does break. And you have that second pump. That's what we're waiting for. It's coming. We just got to be a little bit more patient. Here's a post from chart analyst Crypto with his 1.7 million followers. This guy does hate XRP. He genuinely despises XRP, but he buys it anyway. And he's been intellectually honest enough to acknowledge that it was going to perform. He started talking about it once it moved a little bit in November here. And it did rocket, but he was right before it did its huge part of the rocket move. He said it was going to, and he was right about that, so I'll give some credit where it's due fine. He's wrong for not liking XRP because that's stupid when XRP is amazing. It's just a decentralized cryptocurrency that does everything better than Bitcoin. Some people suffer from XRP derangement syndrome. But still, he's been honest enough to acknowledge this thing, it has broken. He knew that it was in the process of breaking in November. He was right about that. And he acknowledges that's going to happen again. Think about it. This is somebody who despises XRP. He's like, yeah, it's going to go way higher. XRP urgent update, break. That's what he posted this morning. And he's been posting about XRP a lot recently, frankly. Here's a post from Crypto Insight UK. Bitcoin dominance agonizingly closer to a larger pullback. And folks, that is exactly what we should want and hope. That always happens, and then you get alt season. And then XRP dominance increases. So he says, watching alts to see if anything breaks out. Watching XRP dominance plus XRP/BTC. Yeah, all eyes on that, but it's going to go. Unquestionably, it's going to go. Here's a post from chart analyst Casey Trades. XRP USD chart on the screen. Momentum is building. XRP's breakout is close. XRP is playing out beautifully here. Step by step, the structure is developing with classic bullish continuation signals. We've now seen multiple higher lows, followed by a reclaim of the $2.25 macro.382 which also marks the apex of the multi-month consolidation. Well, isn't that interesting? We're getting to the end of that bad boy, I'm telling you. Anyway, that apex reclaim after a textbook fake out below is the kind of technical signal that tells us sentiment has flipped and accumulation has completed. So, folks, another analyst believing, yeah, we're pretty much at the end of this thing, reaching the apex, accumulation's pretty much done, the sentiment's doing what it's got to do, it's flipping. All of this happening right now against the larger macro backdrop, against everything else that's happening in crypto, every other chart lining up the way you'd want and hope for a continuation for XRP. Everything is lining up. It is truly a thing of beauty. Then she says, we're sitting just below $2.30, our local resistance. Once this level breaks, the next likely targets are $2.69 and $3.04. Both major macro fibs. I don't expect these upper levels to behave like the $2.25 apex. They should flip quickly if momentum is real. That's what I'll be watching for next. Price to break one of these resistances and form support. And this is a post from this morning, by the way. And that's before XRP really started running this morning. Anyway, if XRP is truly in the early stages of wave 3 of 3, then this is the moment where local ratios get broken and macro targets start becoming real. Wave 3 of 3 is typically the strongest and fastest wave in the cycle. The majority of the crowd catches on too late. Folks, that is in line with what I've been screaming this whole damn time. She's calling it wave 3 here. That's the second pump. The second huge pump of this thing. That's the one that is the most impressive if you're looking at what XRP is worth against the dollar, or pick your fiat currency of choice. That's the one. That's the next one. That's the next one. So when she says it's typically the strongest and fastest wave in the cycle, yes, that is correct. That is 100% factually correct. That's not an opinion. That's a fact. And XRP keeps getting treated roughly the same over and over again. So yeah, I do think that's what we most likely have to look forward to. It's going to be life-changing for so many people, and we are almost there. I'm not a financial advisor. You should not buy or sell anything because of anything I say or write. That would be a very, very, very bad idea. Until next time, to the moon, Lambo.